everybody, and welcome to Voxel Viewpoints, a show all about video games and how much fun they are to play. The crew just got back from a week-long vacation in Washington, D.C., and are ready to report in on The Division 2. Derek also talks about his adventures trying to see Captain Marvel, which somehow led us to talk about bad CGI and how goddamn old we all are. It's March 19th, 2019. I'm Ryan Shepard, and this agent is requesting backup. Division 2, let's talk about it. We've all been playing it. Red, Derek, Lee, myself, we've been vacationing Washington, D.C. all week. Where are we at? Red, you said you're around level 17. I think you're ahead of everybody here.
I haven't played that much.
No. I'm around level 12. Derek, where are you currently standing?
Like right around level 5 or 6.
And Lee, you're in the same.
About level 6, yeah.
All right. So we've got kind of a variety here. No one's quite at the, definitely not near the end game or anything like that. But, we've got lives, so we can't spend 400 hours. Yeah, 400 hours a week playing a video game. But yeah, so this game, we talked about it. We talked about the betas a little bit on the previous casts, and we were all excited for it. This one takes place in Washington, D.C., which is, I guess, a little bit different than New York City. It's got monuments and stuff, but it kind of has a similar aesthetic to the first game, in my opinion. They didn't really go too far out of their way to make this one visually distinguished from the first one anyway. It doesn't take place during the winter, I guess you could say that. It takes place...
This game takes place in the summer. Next game will take place in the fall.
Yeah.
And then the following game will be spring.
Fall in New England's very nice, so that'll actually add some color to the palette. Is that
and
when
then
this
they're going
takes
to do it in
place?
Florida.
Does it ever actually talk about like exactly how long after the first game this one is?
I didn't catch that. If it did, I might have accidentally skipped it, but they really don't tell you how much longer it is.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a lot longer. I think it's like a real brief period, maybe a couple weeks or so, from the way it's seen from how it starts out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely doesn't seem like it's like years and years or anything like that. I just didn't know if it was if it was a huge difference, because like I was saying, this one doesn't take place in winter. DC and New York kind of have the same timetable on their seasons, so it must take place at least a few months afterward. And the setup is pretty much the same. There were, in the first game, they had this dollar flu that spread throughout the United States, passed by money. It was put on. It was like some terrorists put it on some money, and which means it spread really fast, and kind of society just kind of fell apart because everybody touches money, so everybody kind of had a chance to get infected by it. And classic Tom Clancy setup. You're kind of like an elite soldier that's sent in to, they literally call you the sheriff in this game.
Yeah. You get your own little piece as you walk in, and they're like, "You're the sheriff."
Yeah, and they in some of the cutscenes, they actually literally call you. They say the sheriff just arrived. So basically, you're a member of the Division, which is like this elite special forces secret agency that doesn't exist but does exist. And you're there to clean up the streets of Washington, D.C. because, of course, once the government fell, everybody started doing all sorts of bad stuff. Gangs on the streets, as it were. That's pretty much a setup, other than you literally start the game at the White House. It's a weird game.
Just before, you're entering into the White House. It seems like you might be coming actually from New York and working your way to the White House. Because as you're coming, you're liberating that area, and they're like, yeah, we had nothing until you showed up. That they were all surrounding us and everything.
Yeah, so that's right. I played the beta twice, so that's how I think the game starts. But it doesn't actually start that way. It starts with the little scene before where you get sent to Washington D.C. Does that cutscene explain where that is, like where that's taking place?
It doesn't say where you're at, but during the cutscene, your watch goes off with a set of coordinates, and everybody just happens to know that that's the coordinates for the White House. Right. So immediately they're like, no, we can hold where we're at right now. You need to head to this distress call.
Okay.
Because it looked like we were being attacked from overseas.
Yeah, it looked like
prequel.
Yeah, in that scene, there's like boats coming in.
So it was a real confusing beginning.
Yeah,
that could be a prelude, or what do they call that? Foreshadowing for what might come.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, unless, I don't know. I'm not sure. I guess that could.
Cool.
It's hard to tell where that was taking place, so you don't really know where those boats are landing. If that's New York City or if it's somewhere completely different. Anyway, somehow you get to Washington D.C. and that's not really explained. You just show up on pretty much the White House lawn and have to work your way to the White House proper, and then that's kind of your base of operations. That's where you have to go back to upgrade all your equipment, sell your stuff. You can sell your stuff other places too, but like to spend
skill points.
Skill points, upgrade currency and stuff like that. You have to do it there. And yeah, it kind of sets up an interesting situation where your headquarters is the White House. Like, how many games can you say that, oh yeah, I'm heading back to the White House to spend my upgrade currency and check out this new gun I just picked up? What do you guys think of the setting? How do we think it compares to the first one, and do we like it? Do we not? Is it too much of the same? What are we thinking on that?
I'd say so far I'm really liking it. Like, coming from playing the first one a lot, I really like the feel of this because it's a little bit more open. It's not as narrow feeling as New York is.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's dense.
Yeah, so we got less of that. Well, we still got the grid feel of the game, of how like the streets and all are set up, but DC is a little bit more open because you have the big gardens, you have the lawns. There's not as much residential right there in that immediate vicinity because of the White House being here. You have the monuments around, so it gives us a little bit more space to where everywhere you went in New York was real close. Go in this apartment, go through this alleyway, go down this street.
Yeah, it was basically in the first game. It was like, street after street of basically apartment buildings and skyscrapers.
Yeah, everybody knows. I'm a huge history buff. I love history, and so one of the greatest things about this is that you're literally walking through the National Mall. So you see all the different museums, like you said, the monuments, the Lincoln Memorial, the Washington Memorial, where the White House is and everything. And I actually lived in that area, so I'm very familiar with it. And so to walk through the game and see this, it's kind of cool.
That's something Ubisoft does quite well.
Capturing
real world places.
And I agree. That's one of the greatest things. I'm usually a big proponent of, I guess, being rude or mean towards Ubisoft because of bugs and so forth. But
we'll get there. Get there.
As you stated, as far as it goes with like creating a scene, they're really good about it. One of my go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, with that, talking about that with setting up and you having lived there, like, some of my favorite stories about the game I've heard so far is the people that are currently in DC or have places where they worked, and they've gone and found the exact places where they work, or where their little store was, or somewhere they eat, and they've actually visited that location. And there's been like a lot of those stories popping up on like Reddit and all. If you go to the Division tab on that and actually like read through where some people are talking about it, so it's pretty cool to see that, because you don't normally find that in a game. Like, yeah, you get like New York or you get Manhattan and stuff, but it's just like the name. It's not an actual physical representation like we have here of what they're saying is a 1-to-1 ratio of what DC is.
Well, they could do so much more with this game too. I mean, if you're talking about that where people are walking up on that in the real world and so forth, it would be cool to walk up to that area that you were in a game and then see that same store,
No,
right
that's
there in the real world.
that's what's been happening.
See, I haven't been around to the stores. I mean, I've been to DC. I know the monuments, but stores, no. I'm not familiar with all the stores around there. And then maybe, if you're seeing some of that vision type stuff, like sitting around the stores in real world, I mean, that would be funny too.
Yeah, I said it'd be cool sometime to go in with like a side to side on the computer using like a capture card, but have like
Oh, that would be so awesome.
Have Street View pulled up. Because we know where we're at in the game. We can see it's titled, and then we can pull that up right on Street View, and then you could see, okay, this is kind of what's around here. How similar is it to what they're actually representing in the game? Which from these stories have been pretty damn accurate.
Yeah. The only problem with that is capturing that footage, because you can't sit around for 5 minutes in this game without somebody walking up on you and blasting you in your face. Like just last night, I just stepped away for a second and set my controller down, and then all of a sudden it feels like there's an earthquake running through my apartment because the controller's vibrating, and yeah. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And it was just because some patrol wandered up on me while I was in the menu or something like that. So yeah, the setting, it feels like Derek was saying, it feels like they did a good job of like capturing the look and feel of Washington DC, and it's, things haven't gone well, so there's like burnt out cars and rubble all in the street, things that you could easily hide behind in case you were in a gunfight or something like that. And one of the cool things about this game that, we're obviously going to be making comparisons to other games in this space, these like online multiplayer, like loot shooter games like Destiny and Anthem just came out. But the difference between this and those other games is this feels like it's a legitimate open world, where those other games, you're kind of going back to a hub, like you're loading into a hub, you're doing your business there, you're upgrading your weapons, you're doing your social stuff, then you're loading into a zone and doing your mission, and it's not all interconnected or anything like this. But in this game, everything is, you get your one loading screen and you're kind of in the world. Everything's seamless. You can walk out of the White House onto the streets, walk all the way to the edge of the map, and it's not going to be like loading screen, loading chunks and things like that. And they kind of set it up like that with just tons of stuff to do. Like there's not just like missions and stuff like that, but there's little things hidden everywhere. Like you can go into the buildings, a lot of the buildings, not all of them, but a lot of them, you can, and there's things to find in there, weapons and materials and things like that, which is, pretty different from, say, like, I mean, my major one is Destiny that I played the most. There's stuff to find around the edges of Destiny, but not like this. Like you'll find a treasure chest in Destiny or something like that, but here you're like going into apartment buildings, and it could end up being like a 3-level apartment building, and you're finding just tons of stuff. It could turn into some sort of little mission or something like that. And I think that's pretty cool. It makes it a little less formatted for the co-op, I guess. Like you can play this as a single player game and have some enjoyment out of it by just wandering around and navigating these off the beaten path and stuff like that. And then you can do that with friends too, which is just an extra. It's like Ubisoft taking their open world formula and throwing in this like co-op loot shooter kind of formula, which is interesting. Did anybody play Wildlands that much? Yeah,
I've played a lot of Wildlands.
So
I've
have
actually
I.
got a couple of YouTube videos that are like PlayStation first because we were being given information from people that played PC over in Europe because they got the patches there first. So they'd send us screenshots. So I'd wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning when a patch went live to be the first person at that, record the video, and then post it up. So a lot of the Wildland videos I put have a ton of views because they had this like whole Yeti hunting thing that got really big.
So how does this, I guess, how does this compare to the way that this game's designed in terms of what we were just talking about compared to the first game? How does it compare to Wildlands? And is there like a through line here, or are they different in the way they're approaching all of this kind of stuff?
If you want to go, Leaf.
I was gonna say it's kind of similar. It's kind of similar to the Division, but completely different in a whole nother aspect as well. It's hard to explain.
I'd say the best way to explain it would be that they took the first game and then they had their ideas because the first game started out really not that great of a game. It was just all right.
Yeah, all right.
And then they constantly improved, added these DLCs, which were all separate sections. But now they kind of like, with the Division 2, is they put everything together as a whole. But then within the game, how it's set up broke it apart more. So now we have like this massive skill tree that we're trying to unlock, which we didn't have in the first one. There's more components, more stuff to pick up, to find, so you can craft different things. Instead of just having a couple water bottles on you now, you're collecting gallons of water to refill stations, not just to hand to some random person.
Right.
It feels more immersive than the first one.
Okay.
You also have a PvP aspect outside of the Dark Zone as well. With this one, I don't remember from the first one either. So,
what PvP aspect is there outside of the Dark Zone?
So when you get to the thing, I think it's PvP. It may not be. It's a little yellow icon. I haven't played it, and unfortunately, I don't have it in front of me to look at to get the exact name. But it's it's called Conflict. That's what it's called, Conflict. And so that's something I never saw before. So it's a whole separate entity to the Dark Zone and to the game, to the mission, the side missions, and so forth. And I saw up there 4v4, so I'm assuming it's PvP. But it's not in a Dark Zone.
No, I don't know. I haven't come across anything like that.
I haven't experienced yet. But also for the comparison to Wildlands, it's similar in the open world setup and like the style of gameplay. But they're still two completely separate games because in Wildlands you just have like there's a set of gear you can acquire. Everybody gets the same stuff. You just choose what guns and stuff you want to use. Where in here we're actually looter shooter. We're looking for a ton of different gear, specific setups.
Sure. Yeah, I guess I was touching more on the open world aspect of it, and like, is there a comparison there? Like, is Wildlands like a I didn't play any of it at all. But are you wandering around it? Are you wandering around in Wildlands, or are you just jumping in from mission to mission? Is I guess what I'm saying.
You're wandering around, and it's a lot bigger than the Division. and the Division 2, because you can take helicopter, you can take vehicle,
Yeah.
you can be exploring up in the mountains for hours, because that's like where a lot of the Yeti hunting went. There was little caves. Then you can be like in the little dense city spot in like a vehicle or something, and then it like opened up and there's a bunch of land again. So as far as like traversing and that kind of thing.
So in terms of like open world design, it's more in line with what Ubisoft normally does than regular.
The Wildlands is closer to the open world that you have for like the
like Just
most
Cause
recent
and stuff like
yeah,
that.
Just Cause or the most recent Assassin's Creed, or should I say 2, whereas the Division is just probably what, maybe a tenth of the size.
We touched a little bit upon the differences between the first one and the second one, in terms of just kind of like, I guess, more to do. Like the world feels a little bit more alive.
Yeah.
The first game, did it just have just the one dark zone, or were there multiple dark zones like there are in the second one?
There's one.
Yeah, there's just one. Okay.
Yeah, it was just like one big area.
Okay. Yeah, and this one's broken up into, I think there's 3 or 4.
Three.
There's
3.
And they're at different tiers too. Like there's ones that are higher level than the other ones, right?
I'm not sure if that is accurate or not, because when I was looking at it, it showed the same levels for me. But it is in different areas. Like one's in the top left corner, one's in the bottom mid corner, and then there's one to the right.
Okay.
Of your map. So I'm unsure whether or not it is tier based, because I only went in there. I think you bumped into me.
Yeah.
I was trying to see what you were doing, and I was wandering through the dark zone because there's a mission with this one that you have to do before you can do anything in there, and it kind of gave it a brief explanation as to what you can do, and that was it.
Okay. Yeah. So you did that like required mission, basically storyline mission, and I know it's not like a real accurate representation of what like a random visit to the dark zone is going to be, but how did it feel compared to the first game? Like compared
I'd say it's pretty similar. The second you get in, kill you, and it's not one of the NPCs. It's actually another player. So I'm sitting there trying to do the tutorial mission, and somebody else is already coming up on me trying to kill me.
Yeah, sounds like you weren't having the best time.
Sounds like typical Dark Zone.
But there is a portion, like once you get into with the tutorial, where it will take you, like it will be like, all right, you're in a story portion of this dark zone, and so if you die, it'll take you right back to the same place you were, instead of taking you all the way back to one of the respawn zones. So you don't have to worry about, man, somebody keeps killing me, I'm not going to finish this mission. So you can finish it and not have any problems as well. I like to explore, so I randomly went around, and somebody tried to kill me, but I killed them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they took a different approach to the Dark Zone on this one, to where in the first division it was really gear based, depended on how good you did. But this one, I forget what the exact term it is, but it's like a normalization to where everybody's on an even playing field when you're in there. So it depends more on your skill as a player versus just having really good gear and mowing people down.
Right.
So that kind of ties into the co-op scaling. There is something that they discussed about co-op scaling with the Dark Zone, but I mean, we can get to that when we discuss the co-op scaling.
Yeah. We might as well now, since we're talking about scaling. So yeah, when the way that this game handles, if you join a game with somebody that's a different level than you, is a little strange. It from what I understand, it bumps up. Like if I join a game, I'm level 5. I join a game with somebody that's a level 15 or something like that. It bumps up my damage output to that higher level, but it doesn't increase the strength of my gear. So like I can do I can take dudes out, but they're gonna end up one-shotting me because I don't have the health and the armor to fight back against a level 15 enemy.
Exactly. So there's a difference between the way they're doing what's wrong. That I've noticed with the scaling, is that it almost you tapped right on the nail with the hammer. So, basically, what they're doing is they are scaling up your level and giving you that extra. If you notice when you level up, it says plus so much health, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the problem is that yeah, you might be level 25 with the extra health and so forth, but your gear is still down there, and then all those added tiers that you get to your gear once you get the blue, the purple, and so forth,
Yeah,
they're not there. So you don't have all the extra benefits to that gear that you get from being that higher level. So you're not, I mean, you're in green gear at level what, 5? And
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
a blue,
Yeah, I've got
maybe
like
a
a blue
blue,
backpack.
maybe. But when you're 25, you're sitting there rolling around in purple. So you have all this extra stuff giving you extra skill power, extra health, extra
Right.
armor, and you don't have the rest of that. So yeah, it's definitely one of those things where like, okay, Ubisoft, you need to rethink this.
So it's
Yeah.
actually like it seems from what they said, like how they described the system when they were talking about it was supposed to be like that. That you get this boost up to like a level or two lower than whoever is the highest person. So that's kind of what I've noticed is like I was in a group with somebody level 8, it bumped me to 7, which was plus 3 my level at the time. What was originally supposed to happen was it was supposed to also balance out like your skills and your benefits that you had from your gear to kind of match that. So it kind of seems like they didn't quite nail what they wanted to do with the scaling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just seems like they need to take another pass at it and think about how, like just look at the data, because I'm pretty sure everyone that I've heard talk about this has said pretty unanimously that if you're joining a game that somebody's a higher level than you, it's not great.
Yeah.
And
It's not as bad as the first one.
Oh no, it's not.
The first one was a lot worse because actually, so we went back and played the first one right after the first beta, and my brother and friend Chad had started new characters, so I was like, okay, I'll help you. Well, it boosted their level 2 characters to 30. We could kill stuff, but they were constantly getting down. Like they were like, okay, this isn't fun. You can't play with us right now.
Yeah, that was my experience. So, every once in a while when you're in the running around, you'll get a notification that an agent is requesting assistance. Yeah. And you can go in and you can join their match and provide that assistance if you want to. For one, it doesn't confirm whether or not when you press the button whether or not you want to actually join. So I ended up joining accidentally, just poking away. I think Red, you were in my party when I did that. It just automatically connected me. I didn't even have a chance to even look and see if it told me what level they were before I jumped in. But they ended up being level 22, and this was when I was like level 5 or something like that. And I thought I didn't even know that going in. And I thought I was going to be the badass hero that comes and saves their ass and kills everything and everything like that. But instead,
killed immediately.
yeah, instead I was literally getting one shot. No matter what hit me, I was dying immediately. So I didn't stick around for too long. I left. I fast traveled out of the area, went back to the White House, and little did I know, if you join somebody's game, it doesn't just automatically disconnect you from their session when you do something like fast travel out of the mission zone or something like that. You're still in their instance of DC. So I ran out of the White House, and there was some question marks right on the front lawn of the White House. So I was going to check those out, see what was going on, and I was still getting one shot. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Did I hit some sort of story milestone where all of a sudden the area around Washington D.C. is like super hard now, and I can't do any of this stuff. And then I realized, like, we'll talk a little bit about this even more in a second, but way down in the corner, in this tiny little white text, it said, you were in some dude's game, some dude's instance, and I'm like, oh man, that's the guy that I joined. I'm still in the level 22 zone, and I literally had to go look up online how to leave someone else's session, because the menus in this game are, once you get past,
there's too many.
once you get past that surface level with these menus, it just gets crazy how you're supposed to navigate some of this stuff. But like also how tiny that message was down in the bottom corner, and how so much of like the stuff that pops up on your screen, like when you're acquiring stuff and everything like this, you just get this huge like column of text down the left side of your screen in like size 6 font. And you're like, what did I get? What?
Yeah, I remember loading in because I had the Ultimate Edition, and it took up like my entire TV. Like I play on a 43-inch TV, and like the entire side of it was just fucking text, straight down. And I was like, "Did the game just break, or like what's going on here?"
Yeah, and you need like a telescope to see it, because it's such tiny text on the side. That stuff. A lot of the like real important stuff, like the info on your guns and what damage you're doing and all that stuff is clear, but some of it is just so tiny that you can't even tell it's there. Like I was saying with this message that I was in somebody else's game was itty bitty. Like if I didn't see if I didn't realize something stupid was going on, I wouldn't have even been inspecting it. And yeah, the menu system could also use some work, because there's a lot to do in the game. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of numbers being thrown at you, and it doesn't do, in my opinion, a good job of conveying some of the more important information. I don't know. What do you guys think of that? Like in terms of, I guess my chief complaint just last night when I was playing was, when you're looking at the gun info screen, there's no info about, I think it was how many rounds were in a magazine.
You should tell you that.
I don't think it
does.
I don't think it gives you rounds per minute.
No. There's rounds in a magazine. If you look at it, it tells you how many rounds come in a magazine.
Yeah, and I was looking at it and I didn't think I saw it. Because I was literally trying to do a comparison between these two guns, because I was like, okay, they looked very similar, but one ended up having like a 20 round mag and one had a 30 round mag, and I didn't know that until I equipped them and switched between them.
Yeah, there's a RPM on there.
Yeah.
You'll see the DPS, RPM, and then you'll see the magazine size.
You will not see DPS.
It says kind of damage. It'll say what the damage is. It's not really a DPS, but
it's not
damage. But they have a firing range there for all those hard chargers. They're like, man, I gotta have the top DPS. I don't remember if you guys know of a website called Elitist Jerks. That's really old for all you
that was
World of Warcraft players.
That was the group we were in before Voxel Voice.
No, but there are places for that. But I've seen the magazine size. I'd have to say my chief complaint so far is you brought up that font size. Yeah. I play on a 65-inch, and when I first started a game, I went to go join somebody else. I'm like, okay, I'm waiting. How do I join their session? And it wasn't until my 10-year-old looked at the TV and was like, what's that in the right-hand corner?
Yeah.
What the? How the hell are you supposed to read that?
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
That, and like I said, just doing a lot of this basic menu navigation can be a pain in the ass. Like, you go into a menu, like some of these social menus, and I'm like, I can't do anything here because I'm moving my analog stick, it's not moving my cursor. I'm hitting X, it's not doing anything. And then I find out that you have to hit like R2 first before you can go into like this sub menu, and then that's where you get access to actual options and stuff you can do on the screen. And it's just like, why can't I just hit X to join the session?
Right.
And as far as like the menus and stuff too, a lot of people are having a problem with the transparency of it. That it kind of gives off that feel of motion blur behind it, and it's been making a lot of people like sick just looking at menus. They have an option in settings to where you can make it black behind everything, but it only applies to the settings menu. And it's a lot nicer, but it doesn't transfer over to like your gear menu where you would want it. Because I was like, all right, this is annoying. I'm trying to look at stuff, and then you still see everything moving behind you.
Yeah.
And it gets real distracting.
Yeah,
But they intentionally do that. You know that, right? Oh shit! Somebody's coming up on me. Gotta get out of the.
Yeah, but wait, did it just? I could be wrong. It might have just fixed. They might have updated it.
Did they update it?
Well,
yeah, you were talking about that before when we were playing it before.
Yeah.
Before it came out for Worldwide Friday. And I wasn't exactly sure what you were talking about. I was like, menu transparency? What? I wasn't having any issue with it, and I'm usually somebody that does notice like a lot of motion blur and gets motion sickness, and I didn't realize that's what you were talking about, that it was causing that.
I'm trying to see what it's actually.
All right, well, maybe they fixed it. If it's something a lot of people are complaining about, maybe they
contrast UI.
Okay.
If you switch that to yes, it puts more black behind it, so it's easier to see, and it looks like it now does transfer over to the main menu where it didn't like the first time I found it. So maybe with one of the couple of small updates they did, they kind of fixed that a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. They've been. It seems like they've been pretty responsive to feedback and stuff like that, which is important with a game like this. But also, I think it launched in a pretty good state for a game like this.
Oh yeah.
Like
is it 100
just
times better than the first one?
Yeah, better than the first one. Better than I think any of the initial Destiny launches, and Anthem, which is good because we played the beta and immediately like I fell off the first one real hard. I didn't like the way the world was structured. I didn't like the way the combat felt, even the movement of the character. And immediately when I played that first closed beta, I was like, this is completely different. This feels so much better. It plays so much better. I feel like I have a lot better control over my character. My shots are hitting when I think they should be. And just like the amount of stuff and the activities they were having you do felt better. And it all ran. Like there wasn't like any that there were definitely some instances where, I got disconnected during the betas and stuff like that, but I haven't any connection trouble since it launched. I know obviously some people are going to. Have any of you encountered any connection issues or anything like that in the time you've played?
The first time I really ran into any big problem was last night. I was trying to do the clan mission so I could get that accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And just like right in the middle, I got some real bad rubber banding, and I kind of thought it was going to like glitch up because I've had one crash with the game.
Mm-hmm.
That was just starting it up. It wasn't actually while I was playing.
Okay.
But I noticed some rubber banding, but that's that's probably going to happen no matter what, because it depends on everybody's connection. Not everybody has that crazy high speed connection. So
Yeah.
like it wasn't super bad, but it does still happen.
Yeah, I guess this ties into one thing that I was noticing. Have you guys noticed, especially with the characters, the enemies that run at you to do melee attacks, that sometimes they just clear run straight past you?
Yeah.
Yes.
like like you're just standing there and they're coming and they're running at you like, oh my god, and then they just like they don't even see you and run straight past. And I'm like, for a game that has for the most part extremely good AI, very challenging. You know, they take cover, they flank you, they throw a lot of grenades, and the game keeps you on your toes. To have something strange like that happening makes me wonder if that's a connection thing as well. Like, I wonder if there's like they're trying to send so much information back and forth that sometimes like the AI thinks you're in a previous location and it hasn't gotten the updated data yet or something like that. Or if you're in a group or something like that, you know, everybody needs to be sharing all the same information, and I wonder if it's just getting confused on like where the character actually is because, you know, they've moved from the previous spot. Like it wouldn't be so noticeable with somebody shooting at you, but certainly noticeable when somebody's running straight at you and then they totally whiff on where you are.
I like that they whiff where I'm at though.
Well, yeah, yeah. It's like one of those moments where you're like, oh, thank God.
Right.
Otherwise,
especially the big guys.
Yeah. Otherwise, I was gonna get beat down.
Yeah. No, I think that could totally be the case with that. That's why when we had somebody else talking to us about like they were trying to call it like a glitch, I was like, okay, what mission is this now? Because I want to go in and I want to test this. I want to run it with a group. I want to run it 2 times in a row with a group, and then I want to come back and run it solo. So if the same thing keeps happening, because apparently it was reported that it kept doing, but is it every single time it's happening, or is it just certain things happening that cause this to happen? Because it kind of seemed like the NPC kind of got stuck in a location, so whereas somebody moving around that caused him to get back there, and he just kind of got like hung up on a corner.
Yeah, I've had some NPCs get stuck. Not even just enemies, but like last night I was having a real hard time with a control point, and for one I was just getting my ass kicked. But at one point, it is pretty cool because you can call for reinforcements and they're not even they're AI reinforcements. Sometimes they take fucking forever to get there, but when they do show up, they actually do provide a service. And then first time it glitched out and the wave of enemy reinforcements never triggered, so I just had this constant notification of defeat the enemies, and no enemies came. So I had to load back in, do the whole control point over the first section of it. And then it finally completed, and the guy that you're supposed to give supplies to, like that's why you get the water and the food and the parts. He glitched out. He was standing on top of the ammo refill box, like staring at a wall. Like it said over his head, field, you know, whatever, the person in the field that I was supposed to talk to donate, and he just kept staring at the wall, and there was no prompt to engage with him or anything like that. So I had to leave and come back for that too. So yeah, there's definitely some weirdness going on around some of that stuff, and you know, it's hard to tell whether or not, you know, it's server stuff, if it's just some glitches that need to work out.
Maybe he was just having a bad day.
Well, I mean, he just after what we just went through, I'd kind of just be staring at a wall too, honestly. Just thinking about what am I doing with my life? What is going on?
Right.
Yeah.
I
But-
haven't run into that many glitches comparatively to what I'm reading and
Yeah.
what everybody's been telling me. I think the only thing that I've run into as far I would consider a glitch is that my tutorials keep popping up again.
Oh, really?
Even after I've read it, like if my game crashes, then it's like, you joined a clan. I'm like,
No
yeah, I
shit.
know. I've been in the clan for a minute. And it's like, all right, this is what the clan does. I'm like, I already know this. And it's done
Yeah.
it like 3 or 4 times. And then it does it with some of the other tutorials that you do have as well. And I'm like, okay, is it trying to tell me that I don't know how to play the game?
Yeah. It's like, hey, you're in a clan. It's like nudging you, like you're in a clan. It's like, yeah, I know I'm in a clan. Am I supposed to be doing something else? What am I doing wrong?
Right.
You're in a clan.
I'm sorry,
wink,
I haven't
wink.
been playing with clan members. I've been
Yeah.
playing.
I don't know. Yeah. All in all, I think this is a very good game. It's challenging in all the right ways that I think it's fun. I know if you're keep getting your ass handed to you or something like that, I can see how it can be frustrating, especially and compared to a lot of these games, they're just not this challenging, like especially right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Like, usually you can breeze through at least the story section of it, and then it doesn't really get challenging until you start doing the in-game stuff where you have to get groups together and coordinate and stuff like that. But this game's tough right from the very beginning. If you're not paying attention, flanking the enemy, using your abilities. I guess we didn't really talk about the abilities, like what we think of, like the turret and the spike ball.
Yeah, they got rid of one of the what is it, that the L1 R1 ability.
Oh, your signature skill.
Yeah, so that maybe that'll show up after 30, but it's not there right now.
Is that like an ultimate or something?
Kind of.
Yeah.
And then as far as the skills go, I have noticed glitches with that. And here I'm like, hey, I haven't seen any
Yeah.
glitches, but
This is usually
there is
how
a-
those conversations go.
yeah.
I don't know. I haven't really come across anything like that. By the way,
It may not be a glitch. It may be, maybe it's the way it's supposed to work, and I'm just not registering it properly. But one of them is the revive hive, basically.
revive hive.
Yeah. Well, usually they'll bring you right up if you drop.
Mm-hmm.
Mine does like 25% of the time. And I'm like,
Yeah,
well,
okay.
I guess that was useless. And then I'll throw it to somebody to bring them up in their area and press a button. And I'm like, okay, why aren't they coming up? Did they have to do something? And so
Yeah.
some of the skills I think are a little bit broken. And then
Let me tell you something about that revive hive. I was very happy about that revive hive when I started using it, and then my opinion on that revive hive turned very negative very quickly when you say you're complaining about it not working. Let me tell you about when it does work, and it just randomly revives you in the middle of a firefight where the guy that just killed you is right there, and you already have and you only start with like 25% of your health, so you just get immediately beat down again.
Yep, it's like bring me up. Nope.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, that's right. Self revive. Awesome. Oh,
Oh,
dead.
great! I get to experience a second death.
Right. It just prolongs the respawn by like 15 seconds.
Yep.
Yeah. What is everybody using anyway? What is their current loadout?
I'm support mostly. For mine, I've been doing a lot of support type stuff with like the revive hive, the was it the health chem gun, where you shoot?
Oh, the
health,
grenade launcher that you can shoot. Yeah.
Oh, I want to say health, armor.
Armor. Yeah, it's armor.
Yeah, an armor chem gun. But I have used a lot of the other stuff as well, and then I do have complaints with the fact that when you throw something out and then kind of like the turret or the drone, and if you press a button, you can get rid of it and make it come back, and it decreases the amount of time it takes for it to respawn. So, like, let's say you go into an area, you bring out your drone, and there was only one guy there, you can make it go away so you don't waste the time.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes when you're sitting in a mission, and if you're not close enough to the enemy, and you go to press a button, I think it's L1 or R1, depending on what it is. With when you're using a drone,
Mm-hmm.
that it will just despawn itself. And you're like, what the hell? Aren't you supposed to be attacking the person that I just clicked on? Why are you despawning? And
Oh,
I've seen
okay.
that happen with quite a few of the skills where it just despawns it. And
Because
it's gone.
yeah, because I know like so in the case of a turret, you can throw it out and then you can tell it to manually target. It will just randomly
Correct.
target some people, but it'll get like an R1 or an R2, an R1 or an L1 button over their head, and you can tell it to manually target that one enemy. But that's just like a press the button. You gotta like hold it in for quite a while in order to despawn it. Is that not happening for you?
No, it's not just like holding the button. It's just like pop, pop. Maybe if I press it once too many, it despawns it.
Huh.
It's not holding. It's just like pop, pop.
That's weird because, like I said, for me, you have to hold it in. You have to hold it in for quite a while. It's like 4 or 5 seconds
You're
before.
supposed
Yeah.
You're supposed to, but mine is just despawning when I press it maybe twice on accident because I'm like swapping between enemies because I'll go set it on an enemy and then my teammates already killed them. I'm like, all right, fine, then go kill that one.
Yeah, go that one. Yeah, I wonder it must not be reading the button presses properly or something like that. That's strange.
But as far as skills go, yeah, that's one thing that's frustrated me, but it's not to the point that it's like, all right, I quit. I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah. Lee, what are you rolling with?
I've got the drone, the gun drone, and I've got this thing that decides when it wants to work. It's like this little round grenade thing that you drop on the floor and then zips off
Oh, okay, yeah.
Seeker
and does stuff. And works when it wants to, I think.
Is it the
Sometimes it works, sometimes it tends not to.
exploding
roll
one you
around by
got,
your
or
feet.
was it a different?
What was that?
Is it the explosion one, or each one of these skills has like 15 different tiers now. What does the mine do when you throw it out?
Oh, just it goes to your feet and it rolls around on the floor like it's almost like remote controlled, and it zips off and it blows people. Just like a
Okay.
kind
So
of
it's
a
the explosive
rolling...
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seeker
But
mine.
it kind of inconsistent. Sometimes it does zip off and do its own thing. Sometimes it just rolls around
And follows you.
follows you like a pet.
Yep, follows you like a lost dog.
Yeah. But I tend not to use them really. It's satisfied enough with the actual guns you have to not need to use them.
Yeah, somebody's not
Yeah.
the goodest boy today.
Yeah, sometimes I'll be honest. Sometimes I do forget that the abilities exist because
Yeah.
I've just taken everybody out with my guns because, like Lee said, it is a very satisfying shooter. It feels good to shoot the guns, most of them anyway. I've definitely come across some guns that do not feel as great as other guns are to shoot. But for the most part,
MP5's a shit.
yeah, I don't think I've had the MP5. I got a really bad machine gun, like a heavy machine gun, that could not hit anything that wasn't like directly in front of it. It was ridiculous.
The worst gun so far has been one of the 2 exotics you get from either the pre-order or one of the editions we have.
Yeah.
We get a shotgun, and that's absolutely amazing. But then you get this like 2-shot assault rifle.
That sucks.
It immediately fires 2 shots. The first shot hits, the second shot's always somewhere in the sky. And there's no way to control the recoil of this gun. Like, you can be holding down as hard as you can, like breaking your controller to try to keep that to aim down, and it still won't do it.
Yeah, and it makes no sense. It's like, why even have it?
Like, I get it's a level 1, but that's like, it's super deterring because you're like, am I going to get something else that's this garbage? Like,
yeah, I got that shotgun, but I don't think I got the assault rifle.
You should have both if you got the edition.
I got gold. I don't know. I didn't get the ultimate. I got the gold
Yeah,
edition.
I can't really compare because I have the ultimate, so I'm not
Same, I
sure
have the
which came
ultimate.
in what.
Yeah, so maybe that was an extra gun that came with the ultimate that didn't come with the gold. But I did get that shotgun. That shotgun's pretty good.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Yeah,
Me
we
and Ryan
had-
had a
That
great
shotgun's
night
awesome.
with that. We'll just leave
Yeah.
it at that.
we had a fun time with that gun.
Hit a target 20 yards away.
Yeah, haven't used any other shotgun since, but that one shotgun was pretty good.
Like a fucking sniper rifle.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Sniper shotgun.
it was pretty much like a sniper rifle. Yeah, I think the guns, like I said, most of the guns have a good feel to them. There are some duds, but for the most part, I already feel like I know the kinds of guns I'm looking for. Like I know if I'm gonna find something, if I pick something up, I'm like I'm never gonna use that. Get rid of it. Or but it also feels like sometimes I'm surprised. Like I don't really like the submachine guns, but one of my first blues was a like a little micro Uzi kind of submachine gun, and I used that forever. Like that gun was better than some of the assault rifles in terms of like mid-range combat and stuff like that. Which is not usually what you get with the submachine gun, because once they get to a certain distance, they just kind of start spraying all over the place. But that gun was really good, so they seem to do a good job of surprising you a little bit with the pickups you get. So if it looks kind of interesting, maybe not throw it away right away. Maybe give it a shot, no pun intended, and and see if you like it. Yeah. I like the sniper rifles. I just got a good sniper rifle. Not last night, but the night before. I was telling Red about that one. That's a really good sniper rifle. I'm still using that. Derek, what are you rolling with?
So I have the scan pulse, which is absolutely garbage compared to the first game.
That's what I heard.
The first game, it's wonderful. You can actually target people. It's got a nice radius, but when your shotgun can shoot further than your scan pulse, and I don't think I've ever detected somebody with the thing, I'm so bad. I picked that as my first skill.
Yeah.
But I was able to get my second one finally, and I have the assault drone because that thing's really nice.
Okay.
But as far as we were talking with the gunplay and the skills, I think this game's more built around the guns and the feel of that versus using your skills, because the enemies even like target your shit way faster than in the first one.
Yeah.
Where the first one you could like lay down your drone. You know, we didn't have the drone in the first one, but you could lay down your little attack torrent, because I think we had that in the first one still. And that could be out there for days, to where in this one you throw that out or throw your drone up and it's taken out like real quick.
Especially if they're elites or something.
Yeah, and even more like because we had a drone in Wildlands 2 to use as comparison, and in the Division 2, it's getting taken out way faster. Like they see that thing, they're like, boom, we know what that is. Goodbye. They'll try to shoot out some of the grenades if you throw them too.
Yeah, there's it's similar to the drone, but I think they call it a Firefly or something like that. And
the dart thing.
Yeah, but it's actually a drone. You actually do throw it out and it does fly around, but you target enemies before you throw it. So you can target up to 3 enemies, and I had one that like blinded them, like disoriented them. So you kind of tag the 3 enemies and then you throw it out. And even with that, like they don't know you're there. That's the whole idea, is like you're supposed to get the jump on them. But if their back isn't turned to it, or they see it approaching them, they will attack it. Even though it's going like, it's going real fast. It's supposed to catch them by surprise. But if they see it coming at them, they'll be alerted. They'll be like, "What's that?" and shoot it, and you won't get your 3 flashes out of it. So even there, they're like, they know the AI knows that it can look for these things and get the jump on you, as opposed to you think you're getting the jump on them. And yeah, that goes with like was there quote unquote stealth in the first one, because there's like the enemies you approach in this game, have like they'll have like awareness states, like they'll have like an eye above their head saying that they're like they see you but they aren't fully aware that you're there, and then they'll have an alert state and stuff like that. Was any of that in the first game?
Not as in depth. I think they just kind of had like an alert state. Like
Yeah.
you could only get so close before they'd be like alerted, and then all of a sudden, boom, boom, they're all on you.
Right.
I said I just got my suppressor, so I'm unsure if you could take other people out, and and it won't alert the others.
Yeah, I don't know how deep the stealth system goes. I do know that it's in your best interest, especially if you're working as a team, to coordinate on that first strike to make sure you take as many out right away.
It makes a ton of difference when you're able to do that. And as far as like talking about like stealth and stuff too, moving around's a lot better. Using the cover system and to move the cover system, it flows a lot better than it did in the first one. Like it's not as clunky feeling, and I guess you could kind of compare like the first one to almost Gears of War, where you had that real heavy movement field, and you kind of had that snap to cover in Gears of War. To compare that with the first Division. But in this one, it's a lot more flowy. Like if you're against a wall, you can easily click left or right, and you know you're flipping that way, you're flipping that way, and it feels a lot more fluent to what you want to do with it.
It's almost arcadey in a weird way.
Yeah.
It's very, very slick. Because in the first one, it's kind of, I guess it's fairly realistic. You're fully aware you're wearing full winter gear and a big rucksack. You've got a slight plod. And it but yeah, this one you zip over stuff and across stuff and through stuff. Pretty nifty.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
Yeah.
It's a lot slicker.
And that's, for me, that was like the big takeaway from playing those betas, was like, this game just feels better to play than that first game.
Yeah, it's like the blast,
Which it's going to be insane to see where this game leads, because we've seen how much they improved the first one, and the first one got improved a lot from when it came out to its current state. So to see what this one can become from a really solid current state to just constantly be built upon for the X amount of years, it's going to be nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems to be the way that Ubisoft is dealing with their games these days, is they're kind of treating them as ongoing projects, as opposed to like trying to pump out sequel after sequel after sequel. You look at, I think Wildlands had a pretty good arc on that too, where it dropped and it was what it was, but over time they like added a lot to it and made a lot of changes to it. Rainbow Six Siege certainly has had a huge arc on the way that it was originally perceived, and then how they've treated it over time. And they even kind of do it a little bit with the Assassin's Creed games, like having good like DLC packs and just quality of life improvements over time, that make it feel like that they're treating these games not as like a just get it out the door and get the money in, as more of like a some of them are service games, but like they're even treating their not service games a little bit more like a service game. Like they're continuing to update it, continuing to tweak it, continuing to add stuff to it. And yeah, so this is like, to have them out of the gate with this Division 2 where it is, I can't even imagine where it's going to be in like a year or two.
Right.
Like what kind of improvements they're going to make to it. I mean, it's there's obviously a chance that they could blow it, as we've seen with these kinds of games as well. But they have like they have it under their belt to kind of listen in all the right ways, let's say.
You can definitely tell that they've taken everything they learned with the first one and incorporated it into this as a whole.
Yeah.
If you're going to do a games as a service thing, do it like Ubisoft.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and like Red was saying at the beginning here, like saying he likes to, give Ubisoft a hard time. And I think we all like to give Ubisoft a hard time. Like,
it's just a
say like 4 or 5 years ago, but in the last 4 or 5 years, they have like drastically improved the quality of the games that they put out to the point where like making fun of Ubisoft because it's a Ubisoft game, ha ha ha, is kind of like missing it. Like you're kind of playing yourself when you're joking.
Down to making fun of Bethesda.
Right, yeah. Believe me, there's always somebody to make fun of. In this case, it's not Ubisoft. They seem to have turned a lot around in the last few years, that's for sure. Now they just got to do it with Far Cry because that one's getting a little long in the tooth.
Yeah, it's stale. But that's it. They're not really focusing it in the same. They're not viewing it in the same wheelhouse as a Wildlands, or it's a self-contained thing, and just go, boom, there you go. Have some of that. It's like it's the same as the last one, guys.
Yeah.
But it'd be. I'll tell you what, we would be interested in see what they do with Watch Dogs, because apparently it's the third one on the go.
That's right. Yeah.
Whether
That's
they'll kind of push that more towards a service type effort than a more self-contained thing.
Like the Assassin's Creed
make
treatment.
It fun.
Like continuing to support it even after it's kind of like hit that, initial release window or something like that.
I think they're going to start slowing down on their individual kind of self-contained games. I think they're really going to start calming down on it a bit, I think.
That seems to be the way that the industry as a whole is going. You're not seeing nearly as many big, huge AAA games coming out every year. It's kind of there's fewer. They're talking about Watch Dogs 3 being in London, right?
Yeah, that should be interesting.
Yeah, that'd be great because that's another series I really like. Like when the first one came out, I played it a ton. The second one, not so much, just because so much came out around when that came out. But I felt it was a good direction from the first one. And a little bit I did play was a lot of fun. So if they take everything they're learning from all these games and just kind of like incorporating every aspect as they go through, we could have a bunch of these like sustained titles because I've heard people from Division have like 4,000 hours in this game, sustaining other people for like hundreds and hundreds of hours. Like,
just a side note, how much Watch Dogs 2 did we play?
About an hour.
Yeah, that was about me too. Not too much around the table?
A third of the way through it, just because I can't remember what came out around it, but I remember it was a real busy
I spent less time than I did in the first one, but it's a lot more fun than the first one, so it must just be a disconnect with whatever was going on at the time, I think. Because it is a lot better than the first one.
Maybe we could do that. We'll just go in, sink some time into it, and then come back for a comparison of how we feel now.
Maybe we'll do that. That sounds like a cool.
It was just too many games coming out at the same time caused you. It kind of like you guys said. Something happened. There's just too many games coming out at the same time.
Did it come out at the same time as Mafia 3?
I'm trying to remember what came out right then. I know that when it came out, I was like, "Ooh, cool, Watch Dogs." Oh wait, what's this?
Yeah, it was like one of those like fall releases or something like that, probably.
Yeah, it was a fall release. It just kind of like you guys said. It's not that the game was bad. It's just something else came out and it was a little bit more interesting, and then caught our attention, and you just stopped playing it.
Yeah. So Mafia 3, what Lee brought up, Mafia 3 came out October 7th, 2016, and Watch Dogs was November 15th, 2016. So it was like a little over a month apart. So maybe you were kind of worn out. Yeah, worn out on that open world formula with Mafia, and then the idea of jumping into a new one wasn't exactly. I mean, I get that with like once I complete an Assassin's Creed game, I like need a huge break from open world games because those games are just so long and so exhausting. Not in a bad way, but just in like I need something different. I need a first person shooter or
I still haven't
calm
finished the
game.
last one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I haven't finished Odyssey.
I finished the Egyptian one because I love Egyptian history, but
I
the
did
second one.
Yeah, I ended up going back and finishing Origins as well. The Odyssey is
it's
so
hard.
huge. It's
Yes.
unbelievable how big that game is. And it's so overwhelming when you're looking at it and just thinking about all the stuff that you have to do. And that's what it was for me. I was just like, I can't do this.
Right.
Maybe I still have it. Maybe I'll go back to it. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe that'll be the next one we do after Watch Dogs 2. We'll revisit
Do like
Assassin's
some sort
Creed
of
Odyssey.
replay theater.
Yeah.
Like,
replay theater. Go back to play games that we didn't finish.
Yeah. We'll call it
Ubisoft retrospective.
My list would be this long.
the Ubisoft backlog.
Right.
Yeah, no, I like that idea though, going back and taking a look at a game that we may have looked over initially.
Yeah.
So we want to wrap up Division 2 with anything in particular, anything that you guys want to talk about that we may not have touched upon?
Go play.
I think from what we've played and how far each of us are, we're at a pretty good point. It'll be like coming back in a month when we've hit endgame and discussing like endgame more being in the dark zone and stuff like that. So like maybe like a little follow-up thing would be good at some point.
Yeah, seeing what the tail is on it. See what happens after you're done with the story, and like Derek said, in game, some misadventures in the dark zone.
I did notice that you level up a lot faster in a dark zone.
You get that
a lot faster. I was level 5 after doing a story mission, and like it took me far longer in a regular story mission to level up. So I was like, oh wow, I'm 5.
Ubisoft
Nice.
XP doubler.